Ladies and gentlemen, California has done it and has passed a statewide ban on Glock. Here's what you need to know. Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Before we dive into this bill and what it means for gun owners in California, this video is brought to you with the help of Blackout Coffee, both literally and figuratively. Good coffee is my one vice, and Blackout keeps me going every day between reining in the feral toddler, doing our homeschool lessons, running the channel, writing a book, and having the fortitude to get through the news every day. And I know that Blackout supports my values, the Second Amendment, channels like mine, and that whenever I pick up a partner roast, my money is going back to the gun rights groups I trust to win the fight. So to help out the channel and get a cup of coffee, tea, or hot chocolate that you can be proud of, head on over to blackoutcoffee.com/libertydoll. I first covered this California bill back in May. The bill at hand is AB 1127 and is a ban on so-called machine gun convertible pistols, which we all know at this point is basically just a code name for Glock. Just about any semi-auto pistol can be turned into a full auto boomstick if you try hard enough, but Glock switches are all the panty-twisting rage right now, so that's what this bill claims to focus on. But we all also know that this kind of thing casts a much larger net than it claims. As I said in that previous video, the bill makes the act of installing an already illegal switch punishable by a fine and loss of gun license, or FFL, and would add these so-called machine gun convertible pistols to the state's machine gun list. Because owning a full auto is a state felony in California, this would automatically make possession of one of these pistols a felony as well. But in case you weren't sure, the bill expressly states, except as provided in Subdivision C, commencing on January 1st, 2026, a firearms dealer licensed pursuant to Sections 26,700 and 26,920 shall not sell, offer for sale, exchange, give, transfer, or deliver any semi-automatic machine gun convertible pistol as defined in Section 16,415. For these purposes, the bill would define machine gun convertible pistol as any semi-auto pistol with a cruciform trigger bar that can be readily converted by hand or with common household tools into a machine gun by the installation or attachment of a pistol converter as specified, and pistol converter as any device or instrument that, when installed in or attached to the rear of the slide of a semi-auto pistol, replaces the backplate and interferes with the trigger mechanism and thereby enables the pistol to shoot automatically more than one shot by a single function of the trigger. Existing law prohibits the manufacture, sale, possession, or transportation of a machine gun except as authorized. A violation of these prohibitions is punishable as a felony. And despite Gavin Newsom claiming only a couple short months ago that he's not anti-gun, he has yet to not sign a gun control bill into law. So you know that this one is happening. And you can scream that it is unconstitutional until the cows come home and vow to fight it in court, but it won't stop him from picking up the pen and then making gun owners sit on their hands until it does, in fact, end up in court. And now what's interesting here is the listed exceptions. It does not count Glocks that got to an FFL before January 1st, 2026. It does not cover Glocks sold to police departments, which means that those will end up at gun shops for everyday people anyway. Plenty of people back in Massachusetts had things stamped with "for law enforcement only," and they weren't cops. Transfers for repair to FFLs outside California to owners after temporary storage or seizure, or transfers to forensic labs. So it seems like anything you go out and buy this year in California is technically still fine, and I believe that Gen 3s are on the California roster because they too were grandfathered in. Gen 4 and Gen 5 are not because they don't come with the state's required microstamping technology that is basically a sci-fi surveillance state fever dream and a special mag disconnect mechanism. But the plot thickens here. There is one other exception to this bill, and that is if Glock decided to fix their so-called design flaw. If, according to this bill in Everytown, Glock made their designs safer by gun control standards, they'd be allowed back in the state, so long as they follow all other state laws. But Gen 4 and Gen 5 don't comply with state requirements. Neither technically does the grandfather Gen 3. And if Glock were to decide to amend their design on the Gen 3 just for the sole purpose of California, and Illinois, who has also been trying to ban them and sue them, and whoever else decides to do this, well, then they'd have to resubmit the Gen 3 for the roster. And the Gen 3 doesn't pass the requirements for the roster. So there is no actual way for Glock to fix the issue. So this little amendment to make those who voted in favor seem more reasonable is, in my opinion, even worse because it is completely dishonest at worst and at best shows the lawmakers don't understand the laws currently in place or the ones that they are voting for. Take your pick, both are pretty bad. In a press release, Everytown claimed that it is the fault of the gun manufacturers that these guns are so readily available in California. But if they're really that common, the state itself has some responsibility for that, for saying that Glocks were safe enough for the very small approved list anyway. But because they're so readily available, that puts them into common use. So I don't see how this thing stands legal scrutiny once it gets to court. But court is a waiting game. And because California is the big flag bearer here for gun control, I think that we could expect similar laws in other states. Illinois has already given a crack at it, and I'm sure that more will follow. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you are a gun owner or looking to be a gun owner and still, for whatever reason, live in California, if you're looking for a Glock, you got a couple months that you can make that happen. All right, that is it for this video. You guys know the drill. For all of the algorithm things, please do them. And as always, thanks for tuning in. Stay safe out there and happy shooting.